Most of you already know full well that the game of basketball has changed tremendously throughout the years. Arguably the most dramatic and drastic change has been the rise and the prominence of the three-point shot. There's several reasons for the rise of the three-pointer, from the way the rules have changed, to the way the analytics have evolved, and even to the confidence of the players building in terms of what kind of shots they can consistently hit efficiently. With all this being said, there are certain players of years past who made their impact with perimeter shooting at a time where it wasn't even that common. These are the kind of players who fantasize about playing in the modern game, where their skills would have been allowed to shine to an even greater extent, and where they would have been a much hotter commodity in the free agency market. There are many players who fit this description that I won't be mentioning in the video, just because there's too many of them, but here's 8 players who stand out to me as guys who would love to play in today's game. First off, possibly the most obvious choice, Reggie Miller. Reggie is one of the greatest three-point shooters of all time and is one of only 8 players to make the illustrious 50-40-90 club, which means he shot at least 50% from the field, 40% from three-point range, and 90% from the free throw line over the course of an entire season. Reggie is also second all-time in three-pointers made with 2,560. All of those threes coming at a time when far fewer threes were taken. It's not just that Reggie made a lot of threes, but it's how he made his threes that make him such a smooth transition to today's game. Reggie spent the majority of his playing time on offense zipping all over the court trying to get the ball for a clean look, very similar to the way Steph Curry currently plays. Reggie wore out his defenders because they knew, even in the 90s where significantly less three-pointers were taken, you couldn't give him just a second of daylight because he was going to make you pay for it. In 80s and 90s basketball, you saw a ton of players who were set shooters. They would catch the ball in a stationary position and they shot the ball going straight up and straight down. But now, you're seeing a lot of players shooting as they're coming off screens, and sometimes they're turning to face the basket as they're leaping to take their shot. At times, they're even a little off balance while doing it, but if their shoulders are square and the follow-through is true to form, then it's still very likely to go in. Reggie made a living playing this way, just like modern players do. The major difference is that now, Reggie would have an even bigger green light and would shoot significantly more three-pointers. Let's use one of his best seasons as an example. In the 1989-90 season, Reggie averaged 24.6 points on 51.4% shooting and 41.4% from three-point range on 4.4 three-point attempts per game. Now here's the crazy part. This season that Reggie put up these numbers, teams as a whole were shooting only 6.6 threes per game. Now, in today's game, they're shooting 34.1. That's more than 5 times the amount of three-pointers shot in Miller's season. Also, in that 1989-1990 season, Reggie's 4.4 attempts per game was the 4th highest in the entire league. Today, that would put him in 87th place. The 4th highest in today's game is Trae Young, who attempts 9.5 per game. So I think it's fair to assume that Reggie would shoot at least twice as many three-pointers if he played today, and it's scary to think about what that could have done for his game. Second up is one of the forgotten snipers of NBA history, Dale Ellis. Dale was a bit of a journeyman as he played for 6 different teams over the course of his career. With that being said, he was a legitimate star during his days with the Seattle Supersonics. He was always a great shooter as he shot 40.3% from three-point range over the course of his career. But where he really stood out was in the 1988-89 season, where he had one of the most underrated seasons of basketball history, as he scored 27.5 points, 4.2 rebounds, and 1.3 steals on 50.1% shooting and an absurd 47.8% from three-point range. In his career, he participated in 7 three-point contests, winning the event in his impressive 1989 season. Remember the famous bit of trash talk where Larry walked into the locker room on All-Star Weekend before the three-point shootout and said, "Which one of you guys is coming in second?" Well, that was usually Dale Ellis. Next up is Craig Hodges. Craig played in the NBA from 1982 to 1992 and spent most of his years as a member of the Chicago Bulls. He was always basically just a role player, as he never averaged more than 11 points per game, and in only one season did he exceed 30 minutes per game. But in terms of pure shooting ability, he's easily one of the greatest of all time. He's arguably the greatest three-point contest performer of all time as well. He won the event in 3 straight seasons from 1990 to 1992. If you adjust for inflation, his 25 points in the event is still the league's record. If you want an idea of what being a great shooter like Hodges looks like, here's a clip.
I'm telling you, he loves that corner right there. He's going to make 4 out of 5. Maybe 5.
You and he had something going here.
He loves
maybe
that corner.
5 for 5.
He loves
yes,
it.
come on.
Craig, make me look good here. Huh?
That's right. Well, my guy Danny Ainge is already on the hardwood.
Well, there's 7 in a row for Hodges.
How about the rotation?
There's 8.
Equal or what?
There's 9. Craig, go sit down now. Get ready for the final. Put on a show, Craig.
Fans have been waiting for this.
12 in a row. 13. Unbelievable.
Hasn't missed yet. A total of 30 points is possible.
Look at this. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
That was 19 straight, in case you're wondering. He shot 40% from three-point distance over his career, with several seasons where he came close to exceeding 50%. It's astonishing that a player who was as deadly of a shooter as Hodges only shot an average of 2 3-point attempts per game, but that just tells you how different the eras were. Fourth is Chris Mullen. The 6'6" small forward was the star of the Warriors franchise well before they became a bandwagon destination. He shot 38.4% over his career from three-point range and came extremely close to a 50-40-90 season several times. Mullen wasn't just a great shooter, but a great scorer all around, as he averaged at least 25 points per game for 5 straight seasons. In his prime, he was good enough to make the illustrious Dream Team, who most consider the greatest basketball team ever assembled. But he wasn't just some ordinary piece to the puzzle in those Olympics, but he was actually the team's best shooter by a mile. He was second in three-point attempts, just slightly behind Larry Bird, but he shot a ridiculous 53.8% from that distance while being the team's 4th highest scorer, doing more than his part to secure the gold medal. 5 and 6 on the list are Jack Sikma and Bill Laimbeer. Both of these guys were 6'11" centers and are considered as 2 of the original stretch bigs of the NBA. Sikma had his best seasons from a statistical standpoint in his early years with Seattle, but it wasn't until his final few seasons in his mid-30s with Milwaukee where he suddenly started shooting a significant amount of three-pointers, and in those 3 seasons he shot 35.6%. To even further emphasize how rare these big men shooters were, in each of those 3 seasons only 2 centers were in the top 50 of three-pointers made, Jack Sikma and the other was Bill Laimbeer. Bill is most famous for his violent style of basketball as a member of the Bad Boy Pistons. But outside of that, he would actually love playing in the modern era of basketball, as he was not only a great rebounder, but a solid three-point shooter who often successfully ran the pick and pop with Isaiah Thomas. That's a skill set and play style that would be even more prioritized if he played today. 7th is Mark Price, who's one of the more underrated stars of basketball history. The 6-foot point guard played all of his prime years as a member of the Cavaliers, and in those years, he was frequently among the league leaders in three-point attempts, as well as being a fantastic facilitator and ball handler. With Price's abilities to handle the rock and shoot off the dribble, he would certainly love to play in today's NBA, where that is even more common and encouraged. He was basically the model of efficiency, as he is one of the 8 members of the 50-40-90 club, which came from his 1988-89 season where he averaged 18.9 points and 8.4 assists on 53% shooting, 44% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line. As impressive as that single season was, what might be even more impressive is how he was close to doing a 50-40-90 career, 47% from the field, 40% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line. Next on the list might seem like a bit of a head scratcher, but let me explain. Pistol Pete Maravich. The Pistol was one of the greatest scorers of NBA history, and with his fast break style and incredible ball handling skills, he was very ahead of his time. It might seem weird to suggest a player on this list of three-point shooters who played almost the entirety of his career in the 70s before the three-point shot even existed. With that being said, many who saw him play in those days testified to the fact that he certainly had the range. He had a very beautiful shooting form that looks like modern-day shooting mechanics. In 1977, he averaged 31.1 points as a perimeter shooting guard with no three-point line. I can only imagine what kind of numbers he would have put up if there was a three-point line. The highlight of that season came in a game against the New York Knicks, where he dropped a career-high 68 points. Based on the spots from many of his jumpers that night, his total would have likely been well into the 70s if he had a three-point line. His final season was at just 32 years old. It was the 1979 to 1980 season, which was the NBA's first ever season with the three-point shot. He was well past his prime at this point and was dealing with knee problems. In that small sample size of his career, he made 10 out of his 15 three-point attempts, which is a remarkable 66%. One can only wonder what his career percentage would have been if the three-point line had always been available to him. These are just some of the players I thought I should highlight in this video, but there's many others I considered, like Allen Houston, Ray Allen, Chuck Person, Peja Stojakovic, Mitch Richmond, Michael Redd, and Hubert Davis. I'm willing to do a sequel video if that's something you guys are interested in. Let me know in the comments section about an old school shooter that you think would thrive in today's game. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.